What's up, YouTube? Back for another reaction. This is 20 powers MCU characters have but don't use by Screen Rant. I'm gonna enjoy this one. I love all this stuff. Okay, here we go. Let's jump in.
I've mastered the ability of standing so incredibly still. Watch.
Welcome back, Screen Ranters. The MCU is known for showcasing characters with outstanding powers. It's a pretty big part of the superhero genre, yet many of the heroes we see on screen don't have all the powers their comic book counterparts have access to. Today, we're going to see some of the best powers Marvel characters have but don't use on screen. We'll also add in a few former powers the comic characters used to possess that would look amazing in the MCU. So, grab your Marvel handbook and let's get started.
Don't look at me. I do what he does, just slower.
Alright. I just want to say that Spider-Man is my favorite comic book character. And yeah, he's the best, as far as I'm concerned. He's the one I could relate to the most when I was a teenager. And yeah. So I do like Iron Man and all that, you know. But yeah, Spider-Man is for me. Definitely. Ever since I was just a little kid. Spider-Man, all the way. All the way.
We finally got to see Falcon's sidekick, Red Wing. Only in the comics, Red Wing isn't an advanced drone. Instead, it's an actual falcon, as in the bird. It's easy to think that the new Captain America is just like Hawkeye or Black Widow, just a normal person hanging out with some of the most overpowered people on the planet. But that's not the case in the illustrated pages. Comics Sam Wilson has the special ability of aviation telepathy. He can communicate with all the feathered creatures in the world. He can even see through the bird's eyes. Wilson can also control birds. Wilson got this power due to the Red Skull playing with the Cosmic Cube. If the new Disney Plus show doesn't have Wilson calling on an army of birds that engulf John Walker, well, that's just a big missed opportunity. During the comic crawl,
I'd say they'll probably do that. They'll probably like give him some kind of, to make him more like Captain America, make him stronger, maybe a little bit faster. Might give him some kind of serum. You take it. They've had decades to perfect or to try and recreate the Captain America experiment. You know? Maybe they haven't got there yet, but they can maybe make someone maybe a little bit faster, a little bit stronger. So they might be able to make another, like, I don't want to say lesser super soldier, but they might be able to do something like that, and maybe that will give him that ability as well. Who knows? It'll be interesting to find out. I can't wait for all these TV shows and things to come out. It's going to be awesome.
Crossover story, The Other, Peter Parker got a massive power upgrade, one of which meant that he could get his Wolverine on. During a battle with regular spider nuisance Morlun, Spider-Man is beaten by the psychic vampire. Parker then witnesses Mary Jane get injured by Morlun's hands. Out of his rage, retractable stingers pop out from Spider-Man's wrists. The stingers also create a toxin that can paralyze the recipient for hours. The stingers could only come out during great stress. Eventually, the controversial comic story One More Day happened, which removed all of Parker's nifty power upgrades. If the MCU or Sony ever goes all dark and broody with the Spider-Verse, perhaps we could see Tom Holland sting people with his stingers. Scarlet Witch is scary strong in the MCU. She was easily wiping the floor with Thanos until he got all tricky in Endgame. While comics Wanda Maximoff is even more powerful. She's literally able to alter reality. While this ability has waxed and waned over the years, its most powerful moment came in House of M. Just from saying 3 words that all Marvel nerds know off by heart, Wanda was able to—
No more mutants! Oh man, that House of M was insane. Insane. You know, and the most thing I remember about it was, again, Spider-Man. Peter Parker became rich and famous. People knew he was Spider-Man in that universe, and he was like a tech mogul and all that, and you know, he was wealthy. He was married to Mary Jane. He had a daughter. They had a daughter. And yeah, he was living the good life, you know? It was great. Just to see him winning for a change, other than being Spider-Man and winning as Peter Parker. It was great.
To destroy the mutant population. She depowered 99% of them. That's an insane amount of power. We could see Wanda pull out the same trick in either WandaVision or Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. She won't be able to wreck the X-Men just yet, since they're not around, but maybe. The MCU could do the opposite of what she did in the comics. She creates mutants instead of decimating them. We really want Gambit and Emma Frost in the MCU. Please make that happen. For years, we thought only Rocket could understand the language of everyone's favorite adult baby teenager plant, Groot. Yet, in Infinity War, Thor was also able to understand and chat up the big tree. Odin's son stated that he picked up the language as an elective on Asgard. Well,
I tell you, just on the subject of Wolverine, what was I going to say? Oh yes, Hugh Jackman. I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that Hugh Jackman's coming back as Wolverine. That'll be, oh my god, that was so good. So good. I know he's getting older now, but yeah, they have ways. They have ways to make him look younger, but then he's not looking that old, really. I think he'd be great as Wolverine again. He got a lot of stick at first when he became Wolverine, but I think I couldn't picture Wolverine without him, to be honest. I just couldn't.
Well, Comics Thor doesn't need to open up Duolingo on his phone. Instead, he has what's known as the All-Tongue. For those not as frisky, it's also called the All-Speak. This ability allows Odin's son to understand and speak in all languages and dialects within the 9 realms. It's a pretty handy ability for one such as Thor. After all, he has to do a lot of traveling around the realms and universe, and it might sound implausible, but not everyone can understand English. So having the All-Speak is an incredibly useful ability.
Ooh.
Tony Stark isn't one to step away before pushing scientific boundaries. Just look at what happened in Age of Ultron. Yeah, not great. So Comic Stark is pretty similar in that regard. After being fatally wounded in combat by Malin, Iron Man was desperate. So he injected himself with a version of the Extremis virus. It gave him a number of abilities to win the battle. Once Stark had bounded with his Iron Man suit, a new power emerged. Stark could now communicate with every piece of technology in the world, including satellites and mobile phones. This power of technopathy is both amazing and terrifying. Imagine chatting with machinery that knows about all your weird search engine searches.
Don't look at my browser history.
Not quite as enjoyable. Perhaps this power could play a part in Stark's possible, hopefully inevitable return to the MCU? It's pretty easy to think that all Hulk does is use incredible strength and anger to slap around fools. Well, Comics Hulk has a power that touches on the mystic side of Marvel. The Green Machine has astral form perception. Astral form is when a person's spirit leaves their body for a time, an out-of-body experience. Since Hulk was on the Defenders with Strange, his ability to see him is handy. Hulk can also physically interact with astral forms. So if the Avengers doesn't work out, perhaps Bruce Banner could join Sam and Dean in Supernatural. Or if the brothers are busy, he could team up with the Ghostfacers. Nice reference there. Captain Marvel has so many powers. She's probably the most OP'd character in the MCU. I mean, she flew through Thanos' ship without an issue. Well, there is one power that comics Carol Danvers has that the MCU version does not. Danvers has flash precognition. It's the fancy way of saying that she can see the immediate future at random times, but she can't control this power at all, and it happens subconsciously, but it can kick in during a battle, which is handy. She can see the opponent's sweet moves before they actually make them, so Danvers can easily block or move away from incoming hits, then return with some of her own. It turns her into a mini god of sorts. The power has even been deemed Danvers' seventh sense. The longer Danvers is in the MCU, the more likely this ability will come into play. What do
I think they should call it Marvel Sense. You know, like Spider Sense? Okay, maybe not.
Poison Ivy and Groot have in common? For those that said they can both control plants, you were right. Grab yourself a cookie. We have seen this power, also known as chlorokinesis, on a small scale in the MCU. Groot can change his limb size at ease, which he uses regularly to impale the baddies with. Groot can also heal himself by controlling his plant body, but this power has a fun feature. Groot can use this to control plants in general, not just his own bod. It would have been very handy in Infinity War. Groot could have summoned the tree ants and laid waste to Thanos' army, or even caused the surrounding flowers to fire out pollen to mess with Thanos' allergies. Can't snap his fingers with teary eyes, huh? Well, he could, but it would be slightly more inconvenient. The MCU's Black Panther pretty much has the same physical abilities as Captain America, only T'Challa gets them from a more mystic origin rather than super steroids. While in the comics, Black Panther has some fun extra powers. At one point, T'Challa is anointed King of the Deceased. This gave him a couple of new abilities, one of which was necromancy, which is often a power of a big bad, so that's refreshing for a hero to play with. This ability lets T'Challa control the unalive. The most famous time we saw this was during the event Secret Wars in 2015. Black Panther controlled a whole army of zombie characters to mess with God Doom's plans. It's unlikely that we'll see this in the MCU as it's a tad dark, but maybe we could see a form of it on Disney Plus's What If animated series.
Ooh, yeah.
Doctor Strange is pretty much Marvel's Lord of Magic. After all, he has the title of Sorcerer Supreme. They just don't hand that role out to anyone. Yet Strange brings more to the table than just arcane spells. He's also highly trained in martial arts. He was trained by Tibetan monks. Since then, Strange regularly hones his combat skills with Wong. He was even able to dodge the attacks of Mantis. The comic version of Mantis is crazy good at fighting. She took out Thor. On top of this, Strange is also proficient in weapon combat as well. So we could see Strange lose his magic powers at some point in the MCU, perhaps in a similar fashion to the story The Last Days of Magic. If that happens, Strange will still have another trick up his wizard sleeve. Now we have another power that Spider-Man had for a bit, one that was also wiped away once one more day happened. At one point, Parker was given the ability of psychic alignment with anthropods. Essentially, he could communicate with spiders and insects.
Yes.
At times, he could even command the creepy crawlies to do his bidding, but he couldn't do this to a large number of them at a time. So, if Tom Holland's version gets this capability, don't expect him to send a nightmarish platoon of spiders to swallow up J. Jonah Jameson, but we also don't blame him if he tried to do that. Later on, once he lost this power, comic Parker was briefly able to communicate with a spider thanks to Doctor Strange, but it didn't work out. The spider judged him a lot for not being more like a spider and eating his enemies. Comics Drax is a vastly different animal to Batista's MCU Drax, That was a wrestling reference. Anyway, when Arthur Douglas perished, he was turned into Drax the Destroyer by cosmic beings, with the sole mission of slaying the regular space problem, Thanos. As a result, Drax was given many abilities and a cape with his new body. Such powers included telepathy and concussive energy blasts. He could also fly. He was able to almost fly as fast as the speed of light. He was so fast that he had to consciously fly slower when in a planet's atmosphere. Otherwise, he could have damaged said planet's atmosphere. Nice guy, that Drax. Eventually, Drax perished. He was then reborn in a new form and depowered into the figure we see on screen. Old Drax would have ruined MCU Thanos in moments. This special ability of Ant-Man became meme famous in the run-up to Endgame. You know the one. There are many memes and gifs of this fun ability in action. He shrinks down, pops inside Thanos via an unspeakable fashion, then he gets big at a rapid pace, then wrecks Thanos from the inside out. While we didn't see this on screen, Ant-Man can quite easily do this. He can literally make people explode. He doesn't have to enter Thanos in the posterior way.
Ew.
Scott Lang can get into people's noses, ears, whatever, and do the same action. Only problem is it'll look really gross on screen. Far more graphic visually than Marvel and Disney would be comfortable with. On the downside, rapid growth can cause Ant-Man to pass out. But after doing something so gross, a nap might be rather nice. Everyone knows that Cap's powers mean that he can stop a helicopter from flying away, and he can do this all day. But another side effect of the super soldier serum is heightening his senses to a peak level. As a result, he has amazing eyesight. He can see attacks coming from a faraway distance that the vast majority of people couldn't see. He's also able to process information at a much higher rate than normal people. Oh, as well as having a photographic memory. So if he were speed reading a Screen Rant script, he can perfectly remember all of the utterly brilliant puns, references, and trivia that he dashed through. This processing power also helps in battle when making immediate decisions on the fly. Steve Rogers' other senses are also at their peak level. They're not as great as Wolverine's immense senses, but they're not too far off.
Okay, I didn't know he had photographic memory. Well, that's cool. I'd love to have that. That'd be cool.
In Age of Ultron, we saw the Scarlet Witch was able to ensnare the Hulk with a mind blammy filled with unbridled rage. In the comics, it wouldn't be as easy to do that. The Hulk has the added protection of being highly resistant to telepathic intrusions. So powerful telepaths like Jean Grey, Charles Xavier, Psylocke, and so on wouldn't be able to play with the Hulk's noggin easily. In fact, most of the time, it's impossible for a telepath to get into the Hulk's mind at all. The reason is down to his incredible rage and the various personalities knocking about in his head. It's too difficult for the telepath to hold on to anything.
Wait, he's got more than one person. I mean, more than two personalities? I thought it was just the Hulk and Bruce Banner. He's got more? Wow. Cool.
For too long. When the Sentry made everyone in the world forget that he existed, Hulk was the only one to not be affected. He remembered his Golden Man friend well. So, if Gamora has this power in the MCU, we would probably still have OG Gamora plotting about, instead of the confused past version that hasn't undergone a heroic story arc. In the comics, the deadliest woman in the galaxy has a regenerative healing factor. She's able to survive wounds that would cause most people to arrive in Valhalla quickly. Well, she's also incredibly durable, so it takes a lot to actually injure Gamora badly. In fact, her healing factor is so good that she can nearly survive anything. It's been said that her healing factor can even rival Wolverine's, and his whole thing involves his stupendous healing factor. Well, and the metal claws. Anyway, Gamora's healing factor was powered up due to Thanos. He gave her cybernetics and abilities that gave her various enchantments. All of that contributed to her scary assassin ways. Often, Quicksilver is referred to as being Marvel's version of Flash, only worse, since Pietro Maximoff can only run quite fast. He has none of the fun Flash plotline power-changing shenanigans. Well, in the comics, Pietro's speed gave him an amazing ability. The fancy term is pre-molecular chronokinesis. Basically, it meant Pietro could vibrate into the future. He could leap up to 12 days into the morrow.
Cool.
After a few hours, he would be dragged back to his original present time, only nanoseconds after he jumped. Yet this time hopping took its toll on Pietro. He looked more and more haggard the more he used it. Still, it would have been a pretty useful power when he saved Hawkeye.
True.
In the MCU, Black Widow seems to be rather normal, no powers or superhuman abilities, just amazing training and lots of experience. While Comics Widow has powers. She was given the Red Room's version of the Super Soldier Serum. As a result, she shares a few abilities with Cap, one of which is her longevity. Natasha Romanoff / Romanova was born in 1928, yet she's only in her 30s. She should be playing bingo in a care home, not doing espionage to find yellow cake uranium. We haven't seen her longevity in the MCU, perhaps because not much time has passed within the universe, so it might be less obvious. Widow also has enhanced healing abilities. She heals 5 times as fast as a normal human. We might get more info about her aging and other powers in her solo film. Maybe Black Widow is actually as old as the comic version. The comic story of Ragnarok was very different from the film. For starters, Hulk wasn't involved, like, at all. Also, Thor got a massive power upgrade as he discovered the truth of the Asgardian cycle of Ragnarok.
Let me tell you, I will put that back slightly. But, yeah, that makes sense, because when you think about it, in, was it Winter Soldier? Natasha told people that she was around when the Winter Soldier she met the Winter Soldier back in her past. You know what I mean? I'm starting to think she was around in like the 80s and stuff like that, you know? And she was active at that time. And that would make sense. That would make sense. You know, that would mean that she does have longevity. She is a lot older than she looks. I don't actually know when it was she met him, but he's been on ice for decades, like a couple of decades. So if she met him, she must have been older. She must be older than she looks. That would make sense, definitely. Okay, I'll put it back.
Different from the film. For starters, Hulk wasn't involved, like, at all. Also, Thor got a massive power upgrade as he discovered the truth of the Asgardian cycle of Ragnarok. By sacrificing his eyes, he became Rune King Thor. He could now cast all sorts of powerful spells. He could even see without actual eyes. We've seen snippets of Thor getting powered up, but nothing of this scale. If Asgard is rebuilt in Thor Love and Thunder, maybe we can see the true story of Ragnarok and OP Thor. Every Asgardian has immense strength, speed, agility, and whatnot. However, due to her role as Valkyrie, Brunhilde has a special ability. She can see an aura around people that are soon to perish. She can sense that a person is either in the midst of perishing or about to in a matter of moments. We could see Valkyrie use this ability in the next Thor film. She might even have had it all this time. With an advanced warning, it led her to escaping when Thanos attacked the Asgardian ship in Infinity War.
He's mine.
And that's a wrap. Which of these powers would you love to see in the MCU? Pop your thoughts in the comments below. If you
I agree with him. Go to the comments section, let me know what you think about all this. But yeah, there was a few things there I didn't know about these characters. Really surprised me. But yeah, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this video. I believe links in the description to Screen Rant and to this original video. And don't forget to like if you liked, or like the video if you like my reactions, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell right next to the subscribe button. It does help me, helps me grow. And yeah, I am out of here.